Hello there Internet, and welcome to another Metroidvania map announcement video. Fatal Claw. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I've done actually several videos on Fatal Claw. I did one for a demo ages ago. I think it was the Kickstarter demo, it might have been. I did several on the first part of the early access, or EA1, as I call it because it's the first part. And I did a map through of my experiences doing another run through of that in Early Access 2, plus the additional content that was in Early Access 2 that wasn't in Early Access 1. And because I'm a Kickstarter backer and a Early Access supporter, those of us who backed the Early Access or got the Early Access, bought the Early Access, have had access to a pre-release version of 1.0 for a few days now before the real full version goes live. In some ways, we are kind of last-minute beta testers, but to be honest, I've not really experienced much in the way of bugs in the game. Anyway, so I have been putting this map together in bits, realistically, over several months. It's still taken me 30 plus hours to do, quite a number of which were in the pre-release version, because it gets quite complicated at the end of the game. So there are going to be spoilers in this video, which, let's be honest, if you're looking up a map guide, you're probably okay with. But in case you're not, this here, just zoomed out, has got spoilers all over it. But I'll try and just avoid those for the moment whilst I talk you through it. It's very typical of any of the maps that you might have seen from me. It's got all of grapple points, lore points, Metroidvania abilities, bosses, currency deposits, the little spell engravings that you can get, the Cabot's charms that you can get, all of the locations of the cat statues, breakable walls, key items, all of the save points, all of the places where you can get maps, all of the Acer stones, key items like that. All of the shop inventories are on here as well. Just everything, all of the teleport points and so on and so forth. Everything is on here. All of the pieces of hearts, all of the pieces of mana, all of the pieces of healing, all of the memory cards you can pick up, and so on and so forth. It is very, very typical of one of my maps, but there are also notes all the way around various places, which again I'm not going to zoom in on just yet. If you are trying to avoid spoilers, the spoiler section is coming up in a second. The map is there, the map is available. It is pre-release. It's very unlikely that they will change anything between this release that I've been playing and the 1.0 launch, but if they do, I'll fix it if people let me know. But considering how complicated the game gets right at the end game, I can't imagine they'll be changing much, frankly, because it's one of those games that kind of pulls the rug out from underneath you towards the end. So, map is available on my website, as per usual. There'll be a free copy in the Google Drive sometime after the game goes live properly. The pre-release supporter pack is already there now if you want to support me. As I said, this one took quite some time to do, especially the stuff that I'm about to go through. So this is your spoiler warning. If you don't want anything spoiled, turn off the video now. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. If you say it enough times, one will appear in your mirror. Hello, if you're still here. Welcome to the spoiler section of this video. Right at the start of Fatal Claw, the number 34 flashes up on your screen and some weird kind of effects happen which show you some scenes from the game. And you'll have no idea what that is about. And chances are you'll have forgotten by the end of the game about that section, like I had, because I played through a file over the case of a couple of months. If it's fresh in your head, you might have that. It's like, oh, what's that about? I'm sure it's going to tell us later on. It does. At the end of your first playthrough of Fatal Claw, which might be a little bit different to mine because there are some things that are optional in order to get an ending for the first time. At the end of your first run through, you defeat the final boss and you go through the credits, and you are faced with two things at the end of the credits. You are faced with, and it does tell you at the start of the credits that there is going to be an epilogue, so it's your hint that the game isn't over yet. And to be honest, if the game was over at that, it would be a little bit unsatisfying. But that's kind of the point. Because what they've done, I don't know whether it's clever or not. I don't know whether I would describe it as clever, but it's certainly an interesting way of keeping people playing and getting different endings. So after the credits, two things are shown on the screen. There is the Stone of Narrative, and there's a little, I think it's a quill or ball of light or something, with epilogue, and they're both very clearly labelled, so you can't mess them up. If you click on the Stone of Narrative, it zooms you into a screen which has got a load of essentially objectives, and they are all kind of blanked out, except ones that you might already have done. Because you will get a couple of them done during your first playthrough, and it will tell you the name of the objective, what it was that you needed to do in order to get that. And then there's a dozen or so more, some of which you might have, some of which you won't have because you can't get them in your first playthrough of the game. And when I say playthrough of the game, bear with me. This is not a game where you're going to have to do loads of stuff over and over and over again. Mostly. In order to properly unlock the different categories on the Stone of Narrative, there are two things that you can do. Because once you have finished the epilogue, the game rewinds to that point, and where you had the number 34 before flashing up at the start, you'll now have the number 35 flashing up at the start, which kind of implies that you've been through this several times before, we just haven't played it. What you'll find at the start of run 35 is that some things have been reset. So all of the bosses have been reset, so you can fight them again, potentially in different ways. Certain quest items are back on the map. The Acer stones, for example, are back on the map. They're back on the map because they are involved in a quest which you don't have to do, but you will have to do to meet certain criteria on the Stone of Narrative. And there's a couple of other things as well that you'll need to do again. The Gibnum sap, the Gibnum tree, that's back, and you can keep on collecting that because one of the objectives on the Stone of Narrative is to cure 3 people in one playthrough. And you literally won't have been able to cure anybody, I don't think, in the first playthrough, unless there's a way of doing it that I didn't find. Any other collectibles, any abilities, any cat statues to give you canium, any pieces of heart, pieces of mana, and so on and so forth, any dimensional links that you use for upgrading your teleport, all of that kind of stuff, if you've already collected it, it is replaced by memory fragments, which you can use to purchase the unlock of those criteria, so you can see what it is you have to do, which lets you be informed. Sorry, I'm struggling to explain this, aren't I? Because it's kind of complicated, but it's kind of not. Now, if you go to, and I am going to zoom in on the map now, in the Shrine of Ancestors, tucked away in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a Stone of Narrative that you can go and check whenever you want. And on my map, I have written out all of the categories for the Stone of Narrative. So if you don't want to do the busy work of going all the way around the map and picking up all of the memory fragments again, and they are marked on the map. So if you've collected, say, let's go with this piece of heart here. If you collected this piece of heart, in your second and so on returns, that will be replaced with an icon for a memory fragment, so you know there's a memory fragment there. It's only things that you didn't collect on your first run through, or second run through, or third run through, that are still there. So you can find things much easier to pick up these things, and you can tick stuff off on your map as well. much easier. So each of these things that I've got in the Stone of Narrative section here are blanked out on the Stone of Narrative until you pay for, and it's 20 fragments per thing. So it can rack up. You know, I don't actually know how many things there are in the game for you to go and collect, but for some people, and I include myself in this, some people will see this as busy work, going around the entire game again, picking up stuff just so we can unlock these categories, so we can see what it is that we have to do for the ending. And this is what this actually influences. This influences all of the different bits in the ending, because the ending is broken up into multiple short segments, and some of those segments are going to go very different ways depending on which of these things you have done. So, all the way around this map guide, there are call-out boxes, essentially, for how you get specific ending style things. Things that have got a call-out box on my maps are usually important. That's why they've got a call-out box. But in this particular case, they're arguably even more important because they do offer fairly significant information to help you get through the endings of the game in sensible ways. Now, what I couldn't really do on here without occupying a huge amount of space and making it very text heavy is going over each of these things in a huge amount of detail. So, if all you really want after having finished a game is an explanation for the Stone of Narrative and how do I just get the best ending, this is the document for you. This is available on my Google Drive. It's on there right now. And it does two things, essentially. It actually started out as just a better explanation for what the Stone of Narrative does. So that stuff is all there at the bottom. It shows you, or explains to you, how do I rescue a Trinde? How do I break the afterglow walls, which are the blue ones that get marked on your map, which foxed me for a while? How do you go about rescuing Cain? That's a big one that a lot of people asked, including me. I actually had to ask for help in the Discord, because obviously when I was playing it, there were no guides. There's now this one. How do I do all of these other objectives that are part of the Stone of Narrative? But if all you really want is, well, how do I just tell it to me straight, how do I get the best ending as fast as possible? This here, the purple box, is the steps that you need to take to get the perfect ending. It's not called the perfect ending, I'm just calling it that because essentially it ticks all of the boxes related to the ending from this, from the Stone of Narrative. It doesn't tick all of them because some of them are mutually exclusive. But if you want the ending with the absolute longest, I suppose, ending with the most good stuff in and the most happy stuff in, that's what that document does for you. Hopefully that made sense. So, the Fatal Claw map, and I know it says whip map on there. There might be some stuff that I haven't figured out yet, but I've got all the achievements. So as far as I know, and there may be certain things that I think are mandatory steps, which actually might not be. It'll take me some time to double check those because there's only so much of a particular game that I can face before I start to get really fatigued with it. So if anybody wants to correct me and say, oh, no, I actually don't need that stemmer for that step, do please let me know. Save me just a little bit of extra work. That would be appreciated. But yeah, as I said, and if you've been watching my map through video, you'll know this. I didn't play through on the hard. Well, I didn't even play through on the normal difficulty. You know, I turned all the accessibility options on. I played it through the easiest way possible. And if you've watched my map through video, you'll know that I cheated myself in a load of currency. And I also cheated myself in a load of the memory fragments, so I didn't need to earn them and I could just go and unlock the Stone of Narrative stuff nice and quickly because I'd already had my fill. And I didn't want to cover the map and farm a load of that. Did I get the full experience of Fatal Claw? No. But I had fun mapping it. and I had fun trying to work stuff out, and I enjoyed being stumped and having to go and ask for help. I'm not going to say that doesn't happen very often in games, because it does. You know, there are some games that I get to play early that I'm like, I really wish I got a guide. I really wish I got somebody to help me out with this. But for this one, I was fortunate that, you know, a lot of people got the pre-release access at the same time as I did, and yeah, I asked the Discord for help, and they were very, very helpful. So thanks to them for helping me get this put together. This is now available in the usual places. It's on mycoffee.com as part of a supporter pack even, at very high resolution. It will be available on my Google Drive at demagen.co.uk at a cut down size. It'll only be 50% of the full resolution, which is plenty readable for most things, but I need to keep the file sizes down on there simply because my Google Drive's filling up. And I don't want to have to go through the hassle of trying to start a second Google Drive and linking that, because that'll just be a headache, and I'm lazy, essentially. But a free version of the map will become available for everybody at some point in the future, within a couple of weeks, I would think, of the game's full launch. I hope you enjoy. As I said, I haven't decided where I'm putting this on my tier list yet, because I'm kind of loath to put things on my tier list if I didn't play through them properly. But the question is, when am I going to have the time to go back and play it, quote unquote, properly? Right now, even cheating my way through and so on and so forth, I'd put this easily in the B tier. Easily in the B tier. You know, really, really solid Metroidvania. Depending on how they've adjusted the actual game difficulty for the final release, because the first early access, I thought the difficulty spiked quite heavily towards the end, and there were some choices that they made in terms of abilities and so on and so forth that I really didn't like. They've changed those they changed them for early access too, but they're definitely kind of much more polished up now for the full release. I don't think that this is going to be a game for everybody. I think that a number of people would probably get to the quote-unquote end game. It's kind of a pseudo New Game Plus, I guess. You know, the epilogue and post-epilogue gameplay. I think there will be some people that get to that and think, oh, I'm not doing that again, and just end it there. But for the people that do carry on playing but don't want to work it out for themselves, I've got the text guide in the Google Drive. I've got this guide available in the normal places. I think this is going to have a pretty positive reception, but not a superlative reception. You know, there will be some people that put this in their S tiers, but there are too many things that kind of niggled me. But again, I don't know. I'll have to play through the game properly at some point. But here's the map. Here's the text guide. Enjoy. Thank you for watching. Thank you, as always, for the support. Hopefully this video made sense and wasn't rambling too much. I didn't script it. I never do. Have a great day. Bye. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not click the like button and consider subscribing. Remember, you can ring the bell notification icon to get notified when new videos go live. And until next time, cheerio.